cheers.
Cheers. And I thank you for joining
Yeah.
us today. And
Having
Stacy,
me.
I'm blown away by you. You are a young woman and a mom of a 6-year-old, and you live in New York City. This is a crazy time to be an entrepreneur, a parent, a partner, a woman in this world. So I thank you for the time today.
Well, thank you. I know we both had to pivot for different situations in the past week. And to everybody who thought this was live, I'm sorry that it cannot be live today, but I found out that someone in my family has COVID and is doing okay, but I just felt more comfortable today to do this on Zoom, and you guys can see us talk and hear about Boy Meets Girl and myself. So thank you for pivoting again.
I'm going to start this a little differently today because I'm not a standard interviewer. I like to get intimate and get into people's hearts a lot quicker than giving all the data.
Okay.
So I'm going to start on a day where we could have met and we didn't. And I would love for you to tell me your experience about that day. You were at Barclays last summer when Bounce performed on the basketball court with the New York City playing. Can you tell me what that experience was like for you and how you were involved?
Yes. Well, first of all, having courtside tickets and bringing my son and his friend was pretty awesome. So thank you to Bounce. It was really beautiful. You know, the partnership with Bounce is aligned in so many ways with the initiative of Boy Meets Girl, in terms of the story and our work with youth activists. We work with Hernandez, who's the youngest youth activist for Youth Over Guns. He created that organization. So tying our brands together was sort of a natural fit into what the story of Bounce is and what you want to have the world of sports and basketball know about the world. And so I think that there was just this nice natural tie-in of branding. And then just, it was so incredible for me. You know, I've been to like games my whole life. I'm a very big Bulls fan. You can see our Boy Meets Girl Bulls collaboration. I'm from Chicago. And seeing an opera in like, you know, this like 8-minute opera, but it's very cool and upbeat on the court. I think it was halftime. I don't remember. Yeah, halftime. It was like I grew up seeing Rent and like saw a lot. And I felt like it was like a version, not Rent, but it was like that kind of music and life. And it just gave this different moment to the court that I thought was just beautiful, and that hopefully we will see all over the courts and all different stadiums and NBA organizations. So, but I thought it was just it's different. You know, you see pop stars sing, you see the dancers come out and do different things and throw out shirts. And then here is like this focus on a story. And it's hard, you know, the millennial world and the people of today, we're all on our phones and it's very quick, and there's Snapchat and there's Instagram Live and this and that. And so to have someone focus in during halftime when you're going to get your food or this or that, I think there was a big percentage of people who were focused. And I think it gave like this twist of something new and fresh, which was super cool. And then of course to see our collaborative tease on all the girls in the chorus was really beautiful. And just, I mean, the music it's not, you know, for people who are listening to this, who are not maybe like major opera fans, this is like rock opera. It's like pop, it's cool. And I mean, I love opera too, but like, this is a different beat and it goes really well with, I think, you know, basketball games.
And by the way, you grew up loving basketball.
Yes. I am a Chicago Bulls fan from the 90s. I am stuck in the 90s. My mom is an entrepreneur, and she's also a physician assistant and ran the Cook County Hospital back school, and then she created a lumbar support that is called the back machine. And she had all these different things she was doing. And so she, I think, got season tickets for a few years at the time to take clients to, and at the time that the Bulls won like every year. It was the repeat, and then it was just amazing. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to go to a lot of those games, and took my best friend Ike Barinholtz to one of the games. I think it was the second time we won, or maybe the third time. But I mean, just like to be in Chicago during that time of like Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, John Paxson, Bill Cartwright, like all those guys, like, Stacey King, everybody was just incredible. And so, cut to how many years later? I don't even know, 20 years later, 25 years later, to have a partnership recently with the Chicago Bulls is a dream.
How does something like that even happen? Because you think about it. I mean, it's a dream, but to realize it as an artist and as a fashion designer and as an entrepreneur, I know how tough it is to break into the NBA. We've tried, but you did it, and as a partnership. So how did that happen? So
before the partnership with the Chicago Bulls, I had a partnership with the Atlanta Hawks. Mm-hmm. So the senior merchandiser, or now senior vice president, Amy Serino, I was introduced to her at a dinner, and we started talking about what I did. And I had just come back from Paris with a collection in partnership with Colette in Paris that was around for like 20 years on Saint Honoré. And it was, this, if no one knows what Colette is, it was this like special store. It's been around for 20 years, or was around for 20 years. And it's where Karl Lagerfeld would go like every week to see the hottest trends. And she really Sarah from Colette put a lot of big designers on the map there. So to be in this one special store is very special for me. So once you say you're in Colette, everybody's ears perk up, especially in like partnerships and deals. And so Amy and I, started talking about some of the work that have been doing there, and then also as a brand. And she said, this would be really cool to bring into the Atlanta Hawks and sort of lock up our logos and do it for Pride. And I had been doing, since really the beginning of time, donations back to Pride organizations and bringing awareness to Pride. And I think I just also had come off of, I have a licensing deal in Finland, and they brought my brand to the Helsinki Pride Parade, and I was the main brand of this store, their first initiative ever to be involved in any Pride initiative. So there's 1 million people who walked this walk in Helsinki, and Boy Meets Girl and Boy Meets Boy, Girl Meets Girl, which I own as well, was like balloons everywhere and like pop-up shops, like the type of money that I've never had in marketing to spend was like crazy. So she had known about that too. And that's why she was like, this is natural for us to select you as a brand to collaborate with, because it's not just random. It's like if someone Googled you, they know you've done this with your brand and that you've been an impact, brand that gives back to several things, whether it's anti-bullying, Pride. So after that dinner, we talked like weeks later, and she said, I'd like to do this with you here. We were able to do a local licensing deal. So the MBA, is this master brand that has licensing all over and has Fanatics, who has like the master license to all the assets. And I was able to do a local deal where we could lock up our logos, which no brand has ever done, where we could actually merge the logos together. I don't have a picture here, but I could pop it in. So that happened, and that was a very big success. And it was discussed many, in different outlets. And then how the Chicago Bulls happened was I think from that point on, oh yes, so from that point on, Amy Serino sent the information to the NBA and the cause marketing teams within the NBA. So then that team was aware clearly of our partnership, and together we worked on talking about other teams we wanted to do things with. And I said, well, in the article in Women's Daily on my partnership with Atlanta Hawks, that I would love to do something with the Chicago Bulls. So I was introduced to Michael Reinsdorf. And so I pitched to him that, this is what we just had done with the Atlanta Hawks, and I would love to do a partnership with him and the Chicago Bulls. And so he said, okay, let's, if you're in Chicago, or I was coming into Chicago, he said, let's have a meeting and we'll meet with all my, CMO and the buyer and the merchandise and this, and you'll come to our offices. I'm like, oh my God. So I got to go into the offices of the Chicago Bulls and go walk through the halls with all the 90s, like Michael Jordan posters everywhere. Cause clearly they haven't been as great as then. So that was really surreal. And then they have a wall with all basketballs, like before you go into the meeting room. And I was wearing all my, I had all these Bulls vintage rhinestone pins that I have from the 90s. So I was wearing those and they were like, those are so cool. And then we just sat down and we all talked about the initiatives and what we wanted to do. And so then it just sort of worked out. And this is the first shirt we did for the Pride Parade in Chicago. So that was our first initiative together. That parade happened in the beginning, and then there was a rainstorm, so they never actually walked down, but there was everyone's floats were captured, and I got to go on the float and bring my father and bring my son and bring my husband. It was really awesome.
Was there a basketball game then or no?
So this is prior to the second partnership. Okay. So the second partnership was for the Pride game against the Celtics. And I was invited. So we did a different collection that then this was just for the floats and people wearing on the floats. And then that collection was bought for the stores. So with the Atlanta Hawks, it was bought for the Atlanta Hawks store and website. And in Chicago, it was bought for the stores in Chicago. They don't have the rights to sell it. I didn't have the rights to sell it online because that's through Fanatics. So again, it was a local license, but we could lock up the logos. So that was no other brand again has done that. And with that, they invited me to come speak at the Celtics Chicago Bulls game on the court.
At halftime or when opening the game?
It was not halftime because that was a big thing. And then I brought the Chicago mayor with me, which we'll get into. But so I think she went down at halftime to then do something. So I went in within a different quarter. They snuck me in, but it was a big thing. So I mean, there's these aha moments, to be sold at Colette is a pinch me moment. My first department store in New York City is Bergdorf Goodman. All the, you keep in my business or our business, you keep moving, you keep going and building something, and even when you're in that store, you have to produce it and do all the work and this and then pay and there's so many facets. But when you look back for a second, you're oh, those were moments. And I think with the Bulls, I got to take my sister and my father into the owner suite. And then my cousin, who actually is the first woman who ever came out to me that she was gay back in college. And that's how I really got involved in Pride initiatives, is friends with the Chicago mayor. She was at her wedding. And so I said, let's invite the Chicago mayor to this moment and see if she wants to come. And she wore my shirt. She came with her wife, came with my cousin. Of course, she knows, Michael Reinsdorf, but I got to bring her. And then they asked her to come down in the court at halftime. And we were in this suite with another basketball player from the 90s that I'm now I think I told you in our interview the other day, or when we talked before, it will come to me because, Tony Kukoc. He was in the suite with us and I didn't recognize him. And my dad and my sister were like, oh my God. And and I was like, I just didn't he didn't look like Michael Jordan looks the same to me, but he did not, but I'm sorry, Tony Kukoc. But he was there with us. It was just like this surreal moment. And then they call me down to take me down into the back, where all the players come out and then onto the court.
You went by yourself or did you take the mayor with you?
No, so I went down. I had Patty Green, who has worked with me also in partnerships with, she's like was my licensing liaison. We still do things together. I brought her with me and she came down with me with this marketing team who brought me through. And then I came into the court and was interviewed by these amazing hosts that are they're leading, all the hosts that lead each thing. And now we're going to throw this out. And they just have so much energy. And I was sweating. I was coming, I was preparing. And it's a 10-second thing where you go on, you're on the big screen. And they asked me, why did we collaborate and, where am I from and why is this initiative important to me? And I had 10, seconds to say what the brand was and why we're here and why this is important and go shop the goods. What'd you say?
There you were though, in front, when you were a kid, you were looking up there and then your father and your sister were looking up and saw you.
It's pretty. It was very crazy, surreal. Yeah. And we lost.
I don't think
and the Celtics beat the Bulls.
Oh no!
But that's okay. But they're the team. That Michael and his wife Nancy Reinsdorf are incredible humans. They do so much give back. With this collection, we donated back to the Center of Halstead in Chicago, which helps all lesbian, gay, transgender, LGBTQIA.
LGBT.
Got that right? And is a center for people to discuss how they're feeling and how to, the emotions they're going through. And it's an incredible organization. So that's what we chose, a local organization to give back to from the sale of the goods.
That's amazing. And I also know, and I wish I knew more about it, but I'm sure you can share. You appoint these incredible ambassadors and they're young and they're from all over and it's what's near and dear to their heart and their causes. How do you find these young people, teenagers, young adults to actually jump on board and do this work?
I feel that I've been sort of blessed in this way of over the years to have people reach out to us, whether that's celebrities or buyers or editors. And then even with our youth ambassadors, there's people who've reached out to want to work with us and help us. With the group of people that I've been working with since 2018, which is Sarah Mora, who leads, her platform is primarily on immigration rights. Mm-hmm. She's a daughter of two people who live here who can't vote, and she can't either. So they don't have rights, even though they've been here for her whole life. So she's a big activist on, getting the rights to be an American when you've been here for 20 years, or your whole life. And the Luis Hernandez. So Sarah and Luis Hernandez and Tyra Heeman. So Luis is the youngest youth activist for Youth Over Guns. He also runs Gathering for Justice, or is one of the leads now in Gathering for Justice. And Tyra Heemans, who was part of the Parkland shootings, and is a survivor of it. Those three people, we did a photo shoot in 2018 with Tabitha St. Bernard, who was running was running the Youth Empower at Women's March. She's also like now the lead on the Women's March More Youth program. And so together we had always been friends in the industry, and I had told her we were doing this campaign for voting, and this is for the midterm elections, and so to prepare for this election, and I wanted to bring the youth together. And so together we chose people that were helping the youth empower and who then would want to be with Boy Meets Girl on our initiatives. And those are the three activists that I've continued to work with since then. And then a girl named Nicolette, who was someone who is she is the Miss Earth New York. And so she's more for, our environment and sustainability. So we have, Tyra focuses on Black Lives Matter and gun control and, youth over guns. And then Sarah is about immigration rights. And then Nicolette works about environmental issues. And then we have several other people. So we touch upon what's happening in our world and different youth activists to bring a conversation to our community that some people would never know about. And that's pretty much, that's what the brand has always been about. So we bring uncomfortable situations to the table. We bring all walks of people to the table. Something that like topics that, really hit the root of what's going on in our world. And, Lewis, who is, he's from Harlem. His brother was wrongly incarcerated and put in Rikers Island for a year. He's the only son in the family that went to private school in his whole family. So he was able to get to the right people to work the system to get his brother out of Rikers Island. I'm not in that situation. I've never had someone wrongly accused of something. The community of people who buy from Boy Meets Girl, I don't know what percentage have had that happen to them. And so we use our platform and our brand to raise issues and make people understand that we're all different and we need to make change and we need to understand what's happening. We might not agree on someone's stance, but we can learn about it.
And you started this impact brand, or making sure that your brand had an impact, a socially conscious impact, a long time ago, before it was popular to do, before people had initiatives to do this. Yeah. And I really commend you on that. What I'm learning more and more with Bounce is that no matter what, if we are performing in a loft in Soho, or we're performing at a museum up in Harlem, or performing in Brooklyn on a basketball court, we know that we have to go into that performance with intention, and we know we're going to make an impact. Some of our themes, as you know, they're really controversial. Yeah. We've partnered with Nike and Under Armour, and the whole premise of gun violence was really scary for a major brand to partner with. Mm-hmm. They didn't know if their audience would like that. But we know how important it is. You know how important it is. And I see you doing this time and time again, especially because I've read so much press about you, that these partnerships are what fuel your brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
And I'm wondering if some of these younger students or young adults are going to want to be partnering with you for years to come, whether they start their own foundation, whether they start their own brand. So it looks like you're opening lots of doors for people.
I think especially now, I think in the beginning, I'm sort of always outside the box and not really going with the trend. I'd like to say I start my own trends. So I think more now than ever in the past 10 months, people are very conscious of what's happening, are reading more. The youth is very aware, want to be part of a discussion and help out. So I do think that because of the history of what we've done, more people are reaching out than ever before, which you would think in a pandemic that wouldn't happen, right? That, right now businesses are struggling, which we all are. And, some businesses can't survive, but I actually feel that more people want to work with me during this time because they're like, just like in the sense of the Atlanta Hawks and the Chicago Bulls, oh, this is a brand that if we tie our name to, it's not authentic. And I use that word that I know that's like everybody uses authentic, but it's really the truth of what the root of the brand is. So in 2001, when I launched the brand, it was right after 9/11. I was supposed to have my first trade show the week of 9/11. And because of what had happened to our world in New York City, I really felt that how could I be a fashion designer? How could I be in business during this time? What am I going to do? And when I had my trade show a month later, that collection was donated back to the American Red Cross from victims of 9/11, because that's what I could do to help, because that's the only thing I knew. How there was like, why would I be selling clothes if I wasn't doing that? Like, I just couldn't put it together when we had lost all these people and our world had been attacked. How could I be doing this? So I'm sort of skipping, but I'm going back in time to what happened, why I became this brand and what I did in the beginning. So that first collection that was bought by Bergdorf Goodman was donated back to the American Red Cross from victims of 9/11. And from that point on, I just continued to be involved with initiatives, whether that was the Young Survival Coalition for breast cancer for the youth. So, because I knew that we were bringing awareness to the youth. So back then I was the youth. I was the 20-year-old. I still think I'm 20. And I was like, okay, I'm bringing this to my friends. I'm connecting with them to organizations to make impact. And that's just what continued to happen. I work with the National School Climate Center anti-bullying efforts. In 2009, I brought that to Bloomingdale's. I worked with the young actress Sammy Hannerty. We brought it to the kids' floor because she was the Chrissa Stand Strong anti-bullying Dell for American Girl.
Yeah, American Girl.
Yes. Now she's 20 and I still work with her on a lot of anti-bullying initiatives. But so I've been tying the brand to causes to speak to the youth, to bring awareness to what's happening around us. And that's what I'm fueled by. Like you said, I love partnering with individuals. I love bringing communities together. I love bringing artists together, musicians together. And that is, it doesn't matter what color, gender, size you are. That's who I work with.
And I want to know your feeling about this. And I know we don't have much time, but you and I both love sports. We love basketball. We love athleisure. But the thing is, when you have basketball, there's always going to be entertainment, music, excitement. I can't even imagine a basketball game without those elements. Do you agree with me? Like, do you see that when you're at a game?
Of course. I can't wait to be back at a game with that.
Me too. And a lot of people that are just looking at it for the athletic connection, fashion is a huge part of basketball, on and off the courts, right?
Yeah.
Music, huge on and off the courts. And that's why we believed that bounce would just take off.
I agree with that.
Right?
In 2010, I had a event with Dwight Howard and the Veronicas. And the Veronicas are musicians. They performed. Dwight Howard was a host with me. It was for my 10th anniversary since September 11th, New York Fashion Week event party. So I mixed sports, fashion, music. That's 2010. So I completely agree that one, sports right now is very fashionable. It always, it has been, but like people are excited about sports and their like home teams that they love. And I think that the mix with impactful messaging right now is like bounce should be everywhere.
Thank you. I mean, you are a
That's
visionary,
it.
and I must tell you, talking to you gets me so excited. I would love to have another conversation